You are listening to WOMMLP, operating out of Burlington, Vermont. This is 105.9 FM, The Radiator. It's the Rocket Shop. I'm your host, Nico Zachman. And joining us tonight is our musical guest, Mr. Nick Carter. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Nico. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Well, we'd love for you to start off with a song. What do you have for us?
I have something called Rumble of the Train. This album we'll talk about tonight is called Fountain Pen, and this is actually the last track on that album. And I like to write songs that tell stories. And this is based on the fact that I used to commute downtown in Manhattan, and I would make my way through Grand Central on my way to the subway train downtown. And you could hear this woman's voice before you even saw her, because the voice would just bounce off the tiles of Grand Central's tunnels. And her music was like a short sanctuary of a couple minutes long before you boarded the downtown train. And her name was Wendy. My guess is she's still down there somewhere serenading all the commuters. So this goes out to Wendy and every other sidewalk player who's taken a minute out of their life to give someone else sanctuary in a song. And I call this Rumble of the Train. So I followed her voice underground, through the tunnels and the noise I tracked her down. She was singing by the turnstiles to a city on the run. She was passing out pieces of her heart in every song, singing way down here something never changed. Talking about music and the rumble of the train. Yeah. She's there each day when I come rushing by. She says, I'll trade you a story for your time. Well, the world in endless procession, and she serenades the ebb and flow. She might wish we'd all pay attention, but she never lets it show. She just says, y'all come back, 'cause good things never change. I'm talking about music and the rumble of the train. What's reliable and real? It's the way takes me home. Now won't you take me home? Oh yeah, yeah. If I just stop and listen to her songs, the music stays with me all day long. But I gotta go, so I drop the 10, gotta leave again, and keep my day on track. Without a word, she smiles. We both know I'll be back. 'Cause way down here, something never changed. I'm talking about music and the rumble of the train. Singing now, way down here, something never changed. I'm talking about music and the rumble, talking about music and the rumble, talking about music and the rumble of the train. Sing along, yeah. Music and the rumble of the train.
was Nick Carter opening up with Rumble of the Train. Brilliant use of dynamics there. Dude,
Thank
what
you.
is up?
Say again.
What is up?
What is up? It's great to be here. This is a chance to share some songs in the Burlington area. I'm kind of new to the Burlington area. Kind of dropped anchor here about 5 years ago, and still new, and certainly new to the music community. So
How do you like it so far?
love it. You're talking to somebody who turned 21 again. I turn 21 about every time I pick up the guitar, so I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Well, thanks for joining us. The first question I want to ask you, Nick, is has anyone ever confused you for the Backstreet Boys member of the same name?
I get asked once in a while, "Are you that guy?" And I'd say, "No, no, thank you, I'm not." So yes, it does happen. It does happen. Hence, my website is Nick Carter's Music. That's not an apostrophe. It's Nick Carter's Music. We'll get to that later. But there are things I've done to kind of make sure that if you look for me, you can find me.
Awesome. So, moving forward to your music, how did you get your start?
I got my start. It's interesting that you should ask that. My older brother, about 9 years older than I, was given a drum set many, many years ago. And when he went away to school, he didn't take them with him. And so about age, I guess, I don't know, 9 or 10, 8, 9 or 10, I went into the cellar and discovered that drum set. And turned on music and started playing along, just seeing and discovering that I could use the foot pedal on the kick drum, the hi-hat, the snare drum, the cymbals, and all of a sudden these things started to fall into place. And I have to say, it came easily, enough to make it very, how would you say, very alluring. You know, it was like, okay, I'm in this. And so that's probably how it all got started, and then moving into other things later.
So, are you like a self-taught drummer?
I am. Yeah, I wound up taking drum lessons, studied it in band during those public school, high school years. But yeah, and studied hard.
Nice. Would you say that was like your first like memory of music?
Yes, that very much so. And then guitar came later and singing came later.
Did you start guitar like sort of like later in your career?
Guitar, it's interesting. Guitar, there's a song I'll share with you later. It's called Guitar is My Compass. And it's an interesting story. In high school, a guy down the hall in the dormitory loaned me his guitar just to play. And I said, this is kind of cool, but I don't really know how to play this. And so during high school and college, I picked up the guitar and learned it. But after college, put the thing down again for a bunch of reasons and picked it up again. Probably after college and when I was sort of back in the workforce, and then took lessons and paid some attention to how you can really, kind of get lost inside the fretboard in a really good way. And so the really study of guitar didn't kick in until probably after college, actually.
Interesting. Where'd you go to school?
Lafayette College.
Ah, nice. Do you major in anything particular?
Absolutely nothing musical to my chagrin. I studied history. Lafayette had some really available and good-hearted music teachers, but at that time, its main strength was, pre-law or pre-med or engineering, and it didn't have a huge music department. I believe it does now. And
cool.
But I continued to sing in college and was in barbershop quartets and things like that. So when I wasn't trying to write history term papers, I was chasing down quartet music with my 3 other buddies. So.
Would you say, like, looking back in retrospect, do you think like are you like ashamed that you didn't like major in anything musical in college, or?
No, because I still chased it. I mean, there was a Sha Na Na type band that formed, and I was one of their lead singers. During the summertime, I participated in summer theater, back home in Maine. Nice. And those opportunities were singing opportunities. And during those years, paid very close attention to the guitar. So, no, it would have been, if there had been a more active music program at Lafayette, I probably would have taken a deeper cut at it, but it didn't stop me.
Oh, well, it's good to hear.
Yeah.
So when did you actually start like recording music, would you say?
Recording music with some real serious focus really began it's kind of episodic. It began in around 2002, and I recorded a very short collection of 4 or 5 songs. And events and circumstances kept me from recording again until 2015. And that gave birth to an album called Lost Weekend, which is out there on the internet. It's a perfectly nice album. Fountain Pen was what came next. And that was really, I guess you'd have to say that was my real serious effort at some real earnest songwriting and checking the music with other folks and participating in songwriter workshops to sharpen my skills. And that's the third recording project, if you will. So recording kind of
nice.
Episodic.
Kind of jumping ahead here,
Yep.
but
Jump ahead. It's okay.
Jumping even further ahead, actually, now is so I was reading in your bio that you were a finalist in the 2022 Rose Garden Coffee House Performing Songwriter Competition in Mansfield, Massachusetts.
That's true.
Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yes, gracious people, and a couple of songs that are on the album were competitive in that event. There were 3 contestants, and I was honored to be picked at all. And a very talented woman named Carol Wise from Maine actually was the winner at that event. But we've made friends, and a lot of other musical opportunities have emerged from that. So I think those things are, they have an honor in themselves to be among those chosen to participate as a finalist.
Nice.
And it's always nice to take away the blue ribbon, but it doesn't mean the end of the world if you don't.
Would you say it's like American Idol in a way?
Acoustic, yeah. In a small church cellar in Mansfield, Mass. Lovely venue and all, but maybe not quite as intense as American Idol, but still fun.
Yeah. So we'd love to hear another song. What do you got for us?
I have something called Comfort in Your Cup. And each of these songs has a story to it. And in a nutshell, this song was a co-write with a friend named Kent Agee, based in Nashville. And in a summary, the story goes like this. I imagined the song as a reflection on a friend who I did know years ago, who may still be running a diner in the Stamford, Connecticut area, a very, very hospitable woman named Angie. And we all know these kind of people. They welcome you. You walk into the restaurant or the diner or the hotel, wherever it is, and they make you feel like they have been waiting just for you, right?
Yeah.
And it's like they've been waiting all day for you. And they manage everything that you would like to have for dinner wonderfully, and they make you feel very comfortable. And this song just imagines what Angie might have said if at the end of the day, someone had ever asked her, when you get home, after taking care of all of us in the diner, who's looking after you? And this is just trying to imagine what Angie might have said. Yeah, I was born here. Yes, I live here all my life. Sat right there in that booth at senior prom. Made that satin dress myself. You can probably tell, but I felt like something special with it on. That boy said he loved me, sitting right where you are now. He swore he was gonna get us both away. Well, he got away all right, and I'm here every night, making tips that I spent yesterday. But I'll pour comfort in your cup, and I'll hear your story, though you're only passing through. Yes, sometimes it's almost enough to know that everybody feels the way I do. I used to tell myself I'd turn around someday and see him smiling as the jukebox played our song. But I knew better than that. He's never coming back. So I buckled up my heart and I carried on, pouring comfort in your cup. And I hear your story, though you're only passing through. Yes, sometimes it's almost enough to know that everybody feels the way I do. You know that boy, he called me just the other day. He said I was his one chance to get love right. I told him he could have tried that line on the girl he left behind, but he ain't gonna find her here tonight. But it was comfort in my cup, and it don't even matter if it's true. Sometimes it's almost enough to know that everybody feels the way I do. Yes, sometimes it's almost enough to know that everybody feels the way I do. Yeah, I was born here. Guess I live here all my life.
Nick Carter there with Comfort in Your Cup.
Righto.
What would you say are your biggest influences as a musician?
Biggest influence in terms of songwriting, perhaps? Songwriters? Or?
Songwriting, what you're fond of, anything like that.
Sure. Good question. Fun question. I like any kind of song where there is a real focus on something called prosody, which is a highfalutin term, which really simply means one thing: really using structure of the song, the way you could play the guitar, the way you use your melody, to reinforce the lyrics of the song. Yeah. And one of the first times I ever heard that at work, where it really kind of jumped out at me, was in his album, I think it's called Short Stories, Harry Chapin. And there's a song called Better Place to Be. And there's a really wonderful line where he's he's with a lady and trying to make friends with this lady. And they're talking about clothes tumbling down. And the piano in that song does all of these fabulously jazz-oriented, out of a folk song, all of a sudden these random tones that are totally in sync with the pitch and the key of the song. But it was like, there it is. There's the falling objects. And I thought, okay, that matters. And I was in high school. And hence, I would have to say that's one of the, I think, times in life when Harry Chapin kind of emerged as a real icon for me. Nice. I heard Taxi, speaking of just influences, and I was drawn into that story. I can almost still feel the day in March. I don't know quite why, but it was a winter's day, and I was sitting listening to the radio, and I could hear it was raining hard in Frisco. Here, one more fit, take my night. And the movement and the lyric and the way he could tell a story. And I'm inspired to try to do that. Every time I pick up the pen to write, Nico, I learn something about the challenges of what it means to write a song. I'm only beginning to learn this craft. And this album, Fountain Pen, is a real effort on my part to tell a story in every song. And with some luck, somewhere along the line, the words and the songs, somehow maybe a listener is going to hear a story that they relate to or somehow see themselves in the song. And so the influences are that. So prosody, songs that do that, styles, where the usage of guitar, the usage of the chord form really help drive home the lyric.
Nice. So I heard you mention the word jazz earlier earlier. And would you say you're a big jazz fan?
I'm a jazz admirer. I don't pretend to know all that much about it. I fell in love a long time ago with Miles Davis's Birth of the Cool.
What a
and
wonderful
that,
album.
and that is and Kind of Blue followed. So those two I really love. You're hearing that from somebody who really doesn't play jazz.
Okay.
But I have great respect, huge respect
Yeah.
for those who do.
Yeah, there's a lot to be found in every genre.
Sure.
A lot of great stuff to be found in every genre, from top 40 to jazz to death metal to, everything like that. So Nick, your album Fountain Pen, you mentioned that it's your debut into the contemporary folk world. Have you played in any genres prior to your album Fountain Pen?
That's a very fair question. The answer is not really. The album Lost Weekend, which you can find on the web too, has some distinctive country feel to it. Lots of a lot of Telecaster work done in that album. I had a fantastic musician named, I'll plug his name, Matt Ray, very fine human being and a marvelous, absolutely marvelous master of the Telecaster. And he played a huge role in that album with me. But no, folk with attention to story and usage of instrumentation to, color the harmonies is my focus right now. Perhaps the usage of different capo forms, and different tunings might be where the contemporary comes in. And
Right.
Contemporary might also be applicable when you consider sort of maybe somewhat more contemporary themes or usage of language in the songs.
Right. So you mentioned in your bio that you collaborated with Seth Gleier. Apologies if I got that name wrong.
It would rhyme with clear. Seth
Gleier.
Seth Gleier.
My bad.
No problem. He'll forgive you.
And you've also collaborated with Ellis Paul, Antje Duvekot.
Antje Duvekot.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And as well as members of Red Molly. So tell us how that kind of came to be.
That came up, sure, absolutely. All those folks I met at songwriter workshops. Okay. He probably won't mind if I plug it, but there's a New England Songwriters Retreat every Labor Day. And this year there's also one hosted by Ellis Paul that takes place the weekend before Labor Day and Labor Day. And at one of those songwriter retreats 3 or 4 years ago, I met all those folks and became friends with them. I love the way Antje sings, the way Abby Gardner and Lauren McAllister sing, Red Molly. Abby plays a fabulous resonator, guitar, dobro.
Dobro. I'm familiar with the dobro.
This is, so that's, the songwriting, often I would run my songwriting ideas. What do you think of this theme? What do you think of that theme? By Ellis Paul. And he has been real collaborative and real willing to kind of talk me off the ledge on different song ideas and onto other ideas, and a very, very helpful guide. He had the great habit of saying, no, that doesn't work, and go back to the drawing board. So I'd go back into the laboratory and come back again and again. Seth was a wonderful producer and a very talented musician, Grammy-nominated producer in his own right, but very, very good at making sure that my voice and my guitar playing became prevalent throughout the work.
Okay.
And the singing done by all the others, very, very prevalent in the album, but not dominant, because I was lucky enough to have Seth pay very close attention to just making sure that this stuff supports the stories that I wrote and the singing that I want to do.
Right.
And I'm grateful for the work they all did. They're wonderfully talented people.
Seth sounds like he has all of the hallmarks of a great producer.
Indeed.
Well, I think we'd love to hear another song. What do you got for us?
This is called Fountain Pen. And it's It's a downer, and it's the voice of a broken heart. Let me just quickly bring the guitar back into. I think we're doing well here, tune-wise. Just gonna fix that. Fountain pen. Please don't hate me for the words she makes me write. She's been talking to herself all night. Her trembling hand is steady now, and thoughts are coming clear. She's leaving you one last souvenir. I am her only fountain pen, the birthday gift you gave her back then. And I can't count the time she picked me up and put me down. But she's writing rain tonight, the way the ink is pouring out. And her words say you are out of time. And they lay across the page like a field of mines. And there's no way out between the lines. And I can't stop her from writing it's the end. I am just a fountain pen, like a jet black arrow flying from her hand. I signed your names the day you traded wedding bands, and Italian summer postcards and late night letters back at school, and notes of devotion by two crazy loving fools. But tonight she's asking how it all went wrong, drawn lines straight to all you could have done, and question marks and margins hanging heavy so cold, and one exclamation point closing in to take its toll. Her words say you are out of time, and they lay across the page like a field of mines. And there's no way out between the lines. And I can't stop her from writing it's the end. I am just a fountain pen. Her pain is out of hiding, and she can't fake it anymore. And the ink from my lips draws you a goodbye kiss, and she packs me in her suitcase and pins that letter to the door. Whoa, the words she writes say you are out of time, and they lay across the page like a field of mines. And there's no way out between the lines, and I can't stop her from writing it's the end. I am just a fountain pen, and I can't stop before it's over the end. I am just a fountain pen.
All right. That was, I'm guessing, the title track to Nick Carter's new album, Fountain Pen.
Thank you for pointing that out. Absolutely right. Thank you.
Did you literally write these songs with a fountain pen by any chance?
I did at different times, but no, not entirely.
Okay.
Not entirely.
All right. Well,
That's a very good and fair question.
do you play live? When you do, is it just you or with a band?
I generally play solo. I had an album launch event at a nice restaurant down in Shelburne, Peg and Tear's restaurant, last December, and Seth, my producer, came up and joined me, and we had a wonderful evening with him on the keyboard playing some guitar and me doing the album tracks, and Seth singing backup. And so, generally, though, with the exception of that event, I do generally play solo.
Okay. Sometimes that's what what works. Sometimes it doesn't work with other musicians, but for you, it just seems to work. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's my sense of it. It does feel. There are plenty of times when I've had a bass player or, say, a drummer on a cajon, sitting in and putting down some bottom as we play, and that usually works very nicely. So, it's not like I don't want friends in the game with me. It just usually works out to be solo.
Okay. So would you say your songs change when other musicians are involved?
Great question. That usually is there'll be a longer groove.
Oh yeah.
So. And the guy will just groove on the cajon, and I'll just let that go for a while, let that settle in over the room.
Oh yeah.
In the bar or the listening rooms are a delight to play in, but often in bars you've got folks who are certainly courteous enough to listen, but there's noise in the room. And so you got to get a groove going to sort of, and play at low level.
Low level?
So as not to overpower anybody, because basically I have the theory that if you deliver the song, in a good way, and play the volume according to what works for you, often people will quiet down and listen.
Quiet down and listen.
Sometimes that works, not always.
Do you generally, when you say quiet down and listen, is that what you prefer, or do you prefer like, a more kind of raucous crowd?
Oh, that's perfectly interesting. I was in a bar just last week, and there were a lot of talkative people. So I just kept going. The key, I think, is just bring your music, bring the joy, what art you want to share, and invariably they appreciate it, even if they're having a conversation,
Oh.
And oftentimes the slower songs or the softer songs like The Fountain Pen or Comfort in Your Cup, that often draws attention in a nice way. And people came to have fun. I'm not there to tell them not to talk. I'm just there to bring them the background sound, if that's what it's going to be.
Okay. Yeah, because I was asking because sometimes songwriters ask the audience not to applause or not even to speak like during a performance, not to be like on their phones and stuff when they talk. And you seem to be more kind of cool and
trying to
about
be.
it.
There are listening rooms out there, and I played in a few, and they're wonderful. It's a little bit like this, where you have people really listening. And I like that added sort of little bit of extra pressure to make sure you get everything down there. And, frankly, it draws me out.
Yeah.
This is just a small room here, but I care about how these songs make you guys feel as much as if I were in a big listening room.
I appreciate that. So have you started planning your, would you say, next album? If so, what would you do anything different this time?
I would probably, these songs on Fountain Pen, they are all about some form of relationship. And I guess there's not too many songs out there that ain't about relationships. On the other hand, the new album, I really want to use the songs to speak out about what's going on in the world as well.
Okay.
These songs dwell. The Fountain Pen. There's an old saying. Dave Carter, late great songwriter, used to say in a gig, "Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. The music you're about to hear is all true. It just doesn't mean it doesn't mean that everything happened in the songs, right? Well, I believe that the songs on Fountain Pen are drawn on something that happened in my life that I actually feel is an authentic story, or I wouldn't have tried to write the songs, you know?
Right.
And so, in the new album, I still want those authentic factors to be at work, but I really look forward to speaking about other things, just the colossal risks about the environment, some of the unprecedented pressures on the community by political and social forces at work and things like that. So I'd like to write about other stuff.
It's great that you mentioned that, because I was just about to ask if your songs come from like personal or political or, like you said, environmental, like,
Yes.
worries, but
Yes.
but yeah, it seems like you have kind of a combination of all of those.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm going to end with a song from the album, but if there's, yeah, I mean, I've got a few things here. The album, there's about 6 or 7 songs, sort of 6 or 7 songs in the works now that I would call done. Some of them are, I think, studio ready, but I haven't put it together yet because I want to have another. There's an old saying: if you want 10 songs for your album, write 30.
Yeah.
And I'm writing a whole bunch because obviously, it takes time to come down with the songs, the handful of songs that you look at, you say, I want that one. I want that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's basically like, would you say you're going to be like, do you always put 10 songs on an album and just like use like the rest for like, like B-sides, compilations, rarities, whatever?
Sure. The album Lost Weekend had 11 tracks, I think. Fountain Pen, I think, had 11 tracks.
Yeah,
I
it
think.
does.
I should know. It's my own.
It does have 11. I just
haven't checked that out.
I checked before the show, and
Yeah.
it does have 11. Where did you record your last album?
Last album was recorded in Springfield, Mass, in a place called Ghost Hit Recording. Very beautiful setting, a repurposed church that the studio owner succeeded in setting up as a beautiful acoustic space.
Ah, cool. Did you do it all in one session?
No, the band sessions were all during 1 week in Ghost Hit Recording, and then Seth Gleer, the producer, has a beautiful shed at his home where some of the vocal tracks were put down and perhaps, if you want to call them, perfected, rerun.
Right.
But all the work done instrumentally with the band and the ensemble were done at Ghost Hit, and some
Nice.
vocals too.
Nice. So do you plan on recording in the Burlington area? Because obviously you said that you've been here for like the past 5 years.
Yeah, no, it's one better not go on Burlington radio and call themselves new to Burlington, and then talk about going elsewhere to record the next album. I'm totally open to finding some great venues and meeting new talent and all. I might drag Seth with me though, because he's sort of the trusted sort of co-pilot.
Is he like your right hand man, basically?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, he might call it. I'm both your hands, Nick. He's that good, but.
Yeah. Well, I think it's time we close us out with one more song.
Sure.
What do you have?
I have I began this with the last track on Fountain Pen called Rumble the Train. I'm going to end it with the first track. This is called My Guitar's My Compass. And there was a period of time when I put this guitar down. True story. And there's basically just a thread that talks about a period of time when I put the guitar down, and then a few things that happened that brought the guitar back into my life. Winter 78, I finally quit the band for a job back home. with family. Just did not see the trouble coming down as my guitar became a stranger to me. I was fresh out of school, steady paycheck in hand, my pockets full of cash. Had an office in the field, helping farmers work the land. Had 3 good years before the crash. Then the markets broke the farms, and the banks came calling for the keys. I closed up shop, and I watched those bridges burn. My hometown wasn't home to me. The right road don't always lead you home, and the wrong ones are paved with alibis. But if my guitar is my compass when I go, I'll find my road. And my song will be the stars I'm guided by. Yeah, now. I went to work on Wall Street, found no peace of mind. Started playing downtown bars. Finally broke away and left the suits behind and traded stocks for tips in a jar. The right road don't always lead you home, and the wrong ones are paved with alibis. But if my guitar is my compass when I go, I'll find my road. And my song will be the stars I'm guided by. Here we go now. Morning now you'll find me in Soho, and I'm playing like I'm paying off the debt. My guitar case, catching quarters for a solo, but it's better than a promise never kept. Oh, it's better than a promise never kept. But the right road don't always lead you home, and the wrong ones are paved with alibis. But if my guitar is my compass when I go, I'll find my road. Yeah, I will. The right road don't always lead you home, and the wrong ones are paved with alibis. But if my guitar is my compass when I go, I'll find my road. And my song will be the stars I'm guided by. Yes, my song will be the stars I'm guided by. Now come, my friend, help me find my road. And won't you kindly guide me home and be my compass when I go.
That was Mr. Nick Carter closing us out with My Guitar is My Compass. Man, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Nico, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Do you have any upcoming gigs?
I do. I'll be at on Father's Day at the Shelburne Vineyard. So come on down and have a beverage. And I think, weather permitting, I'll be outside there. I have got several gigs on the Shelburne Farmers Market area and Burlington Farmers Market, and some online gigs as well. My website is Nick Carter's Music. That's Nick Carter with an S at the end, not an apostrophe, nickcartersmusic.com. You go to that website and look at the bottom right corner of the landing page. You'll get to my socials, Facebook, Instagram. And at the bottom of that page, you get more information of all the upcoming gigs. I've got several in the works that I haven't announced yet because I'm still working on establishing dates with the venues. So.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. nickcartersmusic.com. And you can find him on Facebook as well and all of his other social medias. You can listen to Nick's new album, Fountain Pen, anywhere music is found. CD, Apple Music, Bandcamp, Spotify, the whole 9 yards. Well, that's going to do it for this week's Rocket Chop. Thank you all for listening. Tune in next week when we welcome Lake Waves to the show. You've been listening to WOMMLP, operating out of Burlington, Vermont, 105.9 FM, The Radiator. I've been your host, Nico Zachman, and good nights.
Thank you all for listening.